It is a tremendous honor to have been asked to say a few words on behalf of Eric, although he may regret this request in a few moments himself. My first encounter with Eric was during his prime ministerial election campaign during his grade 11 year in high school. He made quite an impression upon his fellow students, and while other students were running a campaign as well on a platform of the typical thing, you know, more high school dances, better cafeteria service, where the next prom was going to be held, Eric was campaigning on fiscal responsibility, accountability, along with a zero means zero student fee increase. The landslide victory was predictable by both staff and students. It didn't hurt that he had a provincial cabinet minister, Jim Flaherty, mentoring him at the time. Eric was doing a co-op placement down in Toronto. The Duncan administration, as it came to be known, pioneered several amazing student opportunities, including the North Dundas Annual Leadership Camp, a 2-night outdoor retreat where student leaders and emerging student leaders could collaborate on how to make their school and community a better place. Eric's volunteerism is well known throughout the township of North Dundas and SG&G. Also during his time in Carleton, as was mentioned, Eric continued to pursue his political ambitions on two fronts. With the title of Executive Assistant, Eric worked closely with our SG&G Member of Parliament, Guy Lozo. On a more local level, Eric, as a teenager, successfully ran as councillor for the township of North Dundas in 2006. And was one of the youngest municipal politicians in Canadian history. In 2010, Eric was elected as the mayor of North Dundas and successfully completed 2 terms in office while serving also as the warden in SDNG, all the while helping run his family business in South Mount. Eric has endless energy and a selfless passion to serve and make his community better for everyone. Tonight, Eric's incredible journey of service continues. And I am so proud to see him accept the Conservative Party nomination for our riding. And I can't wait to shake his hand later this year, as he will proudly become our next Member of Parliament for SD.
And I would like to say a few words tonight about Eric at this SD and SG Conservative Celebration Rally. I was somewhat surprised, to say the least, but nonetheless honored.
So, Mike and Bev told you some pretty nice things about Eric Duncan. Well, I'm here to tell you the truth. So help me God, I will tell you the truth about Eric Duncan. You know, I really spent a lot of time trying to decide how I'm going to talk about Eric Duncan. And I thought maybe the best way to introduce Eric is to tell you a little bit about how I got to know Eric and a little bit of our journey together. And it has been a journey about a 15-year journey, and trust me, we've been side by side, glove in hand. The first time I met Eric Duncan was, I think he was either 16 or 17. He arranged an appointment to come to see me when I was first elected as a Member of Parliament, and he came to discuss a piece of legislation that he didn't agree the way I was voting on. So he arranged an appointment through the office, and I ended up seeing him in Parliament Hill. He came up to Parliament Hill, and boy, did he give me a talking to. After he left, I thought, man, this kid is smart. And really, the political acuity he had was incredible. I just couldn't believe where he was coming from, and he had everything. So anyhow, he made a tremendous impression on me, but I really didn't remember his name or anything, but I certainly was impressed. Then later I heard through the provincial PC Association that he was involved with a campaign, and that actually he had, like Mike said, he had done a placement with Jim Flaherty, who was our provincial finance minister at the time, I believe. And also, at the time that I was inquiring about him, he was working for Norm Sterling. He was working part-time, he was going to school, either high school, I think maybe high school, or maybe he was at Carleton at that time, and he was working with Norm Sterling in Ottawa South, somewhere around Ottawa there, as an MPP assistant. And so, I got to know him, and I asked a few questions around, and I got very, very impressed with what he had accomplished. By this time, he was 18 years old, and he was going to Carleton University. So I gave him a call, and I said, listen, you're going to Carleton? He said, yes. And I said, well, I hire part-time students up in the hill here occasionally. Are you interested? And he was. So he joined me as an 18-year-old. And boy, did he impress me. You know, when you have I hire lots of young people because I like their enthusiasm and they really get into politics, and it's so wonderful to watch them. But my God, they're messy. You know, my office, their office, just off my office, it looked like a university dorm all the time. There was old plates and food and all kinds of stuff around. But boy, could they write letters, could they answer inquiries, could they brainstorm, could they challenge me on different pieces of legislation and things. They were incredible, like the enthusiasm they have. And Eric was head and shoulders above all the rest. So anyhow, after the 86 election, I became the National Caucus Chair. The 88 election. I became the National Caucus Chair, and Eric was working with me on a part-time basis, just about finished at university. And the assistant that I had at the time, I inherited the assistant from the former caucus chair, and she decided to move on. So I promoted Eric to the National Caucus Chair coordinator at 19 years old. Stephen Harper and the House officers couldn't believe that I had this kid coming to meetings to decide what was going to go on at the caucus meeting on Wednesday morning. And we'd have an hour meeting on Monday afternoon, and Eric was there, and he was advising me on how I should approach things. I'm 19 years old. And I'm here to tell you, I just put so much credibility in Eric Duncan's advice. When I first met him, I said to somebody after, I said, I met a 17-year-old that's going on 30. I'd never seen anyone so mature as a teenager as Eric Duncan. It's incredible how mature he was even at that time. You know, within months, if not weeks, I put all my confidence in Eric Duncan. As the National Caucus Chair, he was dealing with the Prime Minister on an ongoing basis, weekly. He was dealing with various finance ministers, the finance minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, whoever wanted to appear at National Caucus, Eric Duncan decided how long they would have and whether they were going to appear or not. He used to maneuver all that on an ongoing basis. This is while he was the mayor of North Dundas. He was working full-time, and I want to tell you a little story about how dedicated. Bev or somebody mentioned his dedication. One time Tuesday night was a nightmare preparing for caucus meeting because Eric had to get all the slides and everything ready. And so anyhow, he was getting some slides ready, but he had a meeting because I guess the Monday meeting was held on Tuesday or something. Anyhow, he had to go to a meeting. So he stayed at the Ottawa office till about 6 o'clock, rushed down to Winchester to do his township meeting as a mayor, and went back into Ottawa at 11 o'clock at night to set up for the next morning. That's the kind of dedication Eric Duncan has. That's the kind of dedication that you people are going to be voting for on October the 21st. You know, being a member of Parliament, I have to tell you, is the most exciting, wonderful gift that God could ever give a human being. I can't tell you what it's like to be a member of Parliament. Words will not allow me to express what it's like to be a member of Parliament. It's such an honor. It's so humbling. You people elect me. You vote, you put your faith and your trust in me. And I carry your message to Ottawa. What an honor that is when you think about it. And sometimes when I'm coming home and I'm driving and it's dark and I'm thinking, can this be? 15 years later, I have a hard time believing that I'm the member of Parliament for Stormont-Dundas-South, Glengarry. Nobody deserves to be the member of Parliament for anywhere. This is a gift from God. This is not something you earn. People say you're a hard worker. Yes, I'm a hard, but you don't earn this. This is a gift. And you know, I can't think of anybody if it's possible to earn to be the Member of Parliament for Stormont-Dundas-South, I cannot think of another human being besides Eric Duncan who is more qualified to be the Member of Parliament. I am only the third Conservative Member of Parliament since Confederation in this riding. I'm the first that's ever been re-elected. And with your support, I've managed to be re-elected 4 times. 15 years we've been a Conservative riding here. Well, I want Eric Duncan to be the 4th Member of Parliament, 4th member to be Conservative Member of Parliament, to be in this riding since Confederation. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have to worry, I've seen this guy through thick and thin. We've shared some pretty bad times, and we've shared some very, very high times. When you win 4 elections together, I tell you, you can get pretty high about that. But sometimes, when you get down in the ditches, and the people are on your case, it can get pretty stressful. This kid rose to the occasion every time. Bea and Ed, you have to be so proud. So very, very proud of this wonderful young man that you brought into the world. And when I took over, when he was 18 years old, he was quality. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, I've had some pretty nice honors in my life. Member of the Parliament for Stormont-Dundas-South, Glengarry, the National Caucus Chair, working alongside the wonderful Prime Minister, Stephen Harper. But you know what? Tonight is one of my highlights. The only downside about all this is I was thinking this as I was driving in. You know what? I think the kid's going to make me look bad. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Eric Duncan.
I figure if you're going to do it right, you got to do it right with the South Glengarry Pipe Band. So I want to thank them for joining us tonight. I want to thank the Brigadoons, one of my favorite local bands. Thank you for being here tonight and playing some tunes before and after. And I've got to tell you, my overall strategy here, it is deliberate. We have the pipe band, we've got the Brigadoons, I've got my Duncan tartan tie on tonight, and I'm going really, really hard for that South Glengarry vote. So somebody suggested to me last week that maybe I should change my name to Eric McDuncan, and that would just be a shoe in Glengarry County. I am honored and I'm humbled to stand before you tonight as your proud Conservative candidate in Stormont-Dundas and South Glengarry. For those of you that know me, having the opportunity to represent my community in the House of Commons has been a dream of mine since I can remember. I've been blessed at the age of 31 to be given a chance to gain valuable life experience, and I appreciate Mike and Bev and Guy saying a few words to talk about that. I love my 12 years in municipal government,
including 8 years as mayor and 2 years as warden. To have worked for Guy for 9 years in both Parliament Hill and in the constituency office. To work alongside my dad at our family business, Jet Express. And to look out in the crowd tonight and see so many friends that I've made through volunteering in our community. There is nothing more rewarding than working with neighbors and friends to make a difference in your community and region. I am blessed to have those experiences to guide me into this next chapter of my life and career. And I'm grateful to have such a wonderful support network to guide me along the way. My family, my friends, supporters, and what we have a club going here now that I think is only going to get bigger in the riding. It's my group of second mothers that come around the riding. They keep me in line, they fix my tie, they fix my shirt collar, they give me a pat in the back when I need it or a slap upside the head when I need that too. I would be here until tomorrow naming everybody that's helped me along the way. Having you here tonight and having such a great network is something I really appreciate. But I do want to single out my immediate family. And try not to cry when we look at each other. Mom's already crying. All right, there's a good start. My mom, Bea, my dad, Ed, my sister, Jill, their spouses, Francine, Gary, and Cody, and my 5 stepsisters. Now, people wonder how I got a thick skin in politics. 5 stepsisters right there is the answer in the test training. And I have numerous aunts and uncles and cousins. Now, my strategy is that just my family votes. I think we're about halfway to victory in October. So, I mentioned earlier that it was my childhood dream to take this step. But I will admit for a couple of years, I wasn't sure if I would. I like to say that I had my first midlife crisis around the age of 30. I had some tough days and I had some tough months. But my family was absolutely incredible and beside me every step of the way as I worked through what I wanted to do next. I struggled with a few things, including whether or not I wanted to jump into a higher level of office where partisanship and nastiness often gets the headlines. Where simply sitting down, working out problems, and offering solutions seems to be the boring way. But upon reflection, and seeing you and seeing the energy in this room tonight, I know that I've made the right decision. I'm fired up and I'm ready to go for the next election. Make a contribution to my community and to my country, and I firmly believe that here locally we can set a good tone, a good dialogue, and a good debate in the coming months. I know this campaign's not going to be easy and it's a big next step, and I know that I've got big shoes to fill. People ask me how the campaign's going all the time. I tell them 2 things I learned in this job. There's a lot of food and there's a lot of mileage. And you think about it, we have quite a big riding. It goes from Hullville all the way in the northwest down to Iroquois, all the way east to the Quebec border. And then again from Hullville in the north part, all the way over to Moose Creek. 100,000 residents, a lot of doors to knock on. And I have to say, and I appreciated Guy's introduction and recalling the times we worked together. Guy has totally set the bar and frankly changed the bar for what's expected of our local officials here. And I know I've got big shoes to fill. I've got size 12, so I'm going to try. But he's done a great job. And by doing that, being out and about at events everywhere in the county to meet and hear from constituents. My favorite story of Guy working in Ottawa was, and it's actually true, that Guy is lucky and to be, there's only about 10 or 12 members of Parliament, of all 338 in Canada, that can go home to their riding every night. Some members of Parliament, despite that, choose to go to every fancy reception and lobby day and thing on Parliament Hill. And my favorite response working for Guy will be somewhere and somebody say, "Hey Guy, you going to this lobby wine and reception tonight?" He says, "No, I got a church supper out in Ingleside, gotta go." And off. And I remember, and it's no offense to any of this that come before Guy, any other members of Parliament at the federal, provincial level, but Guy set the bar. I remember for years, having an MP show up to the South Mountain Fair was a huge deal. They would just roll the red carpet out and they couldn't believe that the South Mountain Fair had their local member of Parliament. Guy's at every church supper, every anniversary, every day of the fair. And now when you see Guy, it's more like, it's not, "Oh wow, there's the member of Parliament. Oh, there's Guy again. Hey Guy, hey Francis." And they've done a great job. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Guy's secret weapon. It wasn't the big blue machine, it wasn't money, it wasn't volunteers. it was the one and only Francis Lozon. I was going to save this story for another night, but I can't help it. Francis has the patience of a saint. I think of back in 2006, I might have the year a little bit mixed up. He went to the Long Sault, and every year the marina has a grand opening event every year where they cut a ribbon and they acknowledge all the boats getting out for the season and everything. So Guy was there and dressed quite sharp that day. And he was a little bit flustered and wasn't himself, and he was in a bit of a rush to cut the ribbon, say a few words, and as soon as he was done, he was right out the door, was running back to the car. And I can't remember who the owner was at the time, came up and he said, Guy, is everything okay here? You're a bit flustered and a bit of a rush. He said, I gotta go to St. Andrew's West and marry Francis in 45 minutes. I gotta go. So to say the least, when I write down the words, you're energized, you buddy, and set the bar very high, that is quite a high bar to fit. I've been asked over the years what's drawn me to the Conservative Party of Canada. And my response is always simple. I believe in low taxes, making life affordable for everyone, and efficiently and effectively offering government services that our country needs. Universal health care, education, roads and bridges and transit, and we need to be a strong, steady leader on the world stage. I got to see Andrew Scheer work in Ottawa during my time on Parliament Hill, and I believe he will make a great Prime Minister. I'm proud to run under the party banner, and I'm proud how calm, cool, and collected he is. He offers a steady and strong style of leadership, and it isn't always flashy. Andrew's the first one to tell you that, and he's the first to tell you that he's not going to be on the cover of Vogue anytime soon. But that's not what our country needs. Our country needs people that sit down, get to work, and get things done. There's one simple term that I use to describe why I'm running for the Conservative Party of Canada this fall, and it's sustainability. And what do I mean by that? Ask yourself this simple premise. If your household racked up your debt by spending more money than you take in for years on end, maybe with a plan to get back to even keel in the year 2040, would you say your habits are sustainable? Absolutely not. We've seen what happens when governments spend and spend and spend, when they rack up debt and deficit and have no regard for good financial planning or management. It's not sustainable. Frankly, we saw that in Ontario for 15 years and the challenges that we face now. Our federal government is literally repeating that very same strategy now. And like my good friend Dr. Phil says, how's that going to work for you? Not very well. We are going to be in the same financial mess as the province of Ontario if we don't take action now. So when I'm out and about talking to people to say there are challenges ahead, but let me word it this way. 4 years of problems is a hell of a lot easier to fix than 15 years of waste and misspending. We can turn the ship around, we can spend more wisely and balance our finances and be sustainable in how we give key services to Canadians. And we can make sure at the same time that we're competitive, that businesses want to be here and strengthen and sustain our economy. I've enjoyed the campaign since February. I've gained a few pounds. My shirt collar, my ties barely buckle now from going to every church supper. On Sunday, it was at 2 breakfasts. On Sunday night, it was at 2 suppers. But it's been great. And I say, I do the Guy Lozon in the sense that you go out, and that's where you get the grassroots feedback from people. So when people go and ask what this election campaign is going to be about, I feel that over the last 3 months and going in the next 5 months, we're able to get a real grasp of what people are saying and what they're thinking in this riding. At a national level, people ask me, what are you hearing at the doors? What are you hearing? We were at the Morrisburg Trade Show, the South Dundas Chamber Show this weekend. What are the issues you're hearing about? I'll tell you, the number one thing lately has been the SNC Lavalin issue. And everyone nods and groans, unfortunately, when we talk about that issue. Make no illusion about this. I always say there is a short-term gain politically because the Conservative Party is seen as the party that can deliver the change and the ethics that what we need to have in this government. But I also say in the long run, it's dangerous for our political discourse in the sense whenever actions like this are taken, people don't trust government. And if they don't, it doesn't matter what file you're dealing with, it sets a long-term damage for the party. Our Conservative government, and I pledge to go to Ottawa to improve that. We can simply and easily do better than the standard that's set today. Another issue we hear quite a bit about at the doors, particularly at different events, is the carbon tax. Let's ask you the general question. Does anybody mind paying a little bit more in gas so Gale and Weston can get free fridges? Anybody? Not too many. Let me just preface my comments with this. Just because somebody does not support a carbon tax doesn't mean we don't care about the environment and the changes we need to protect our future. Ridings like ours are impacted the most. Many of our residents commute to work in longer distance. If they're going into Cornwall or they're going to Ottawa for work or Montreal or Brockville or any point in between, you're simply penalized with a tax increase to go to work. And it's not just the price of gas. It's natural gas, its cost of groceries goes up, hiring a plumber or a contractor, they will go up because they pass the expenses along. Restaurants and small businesses are the same. And it goes on and on and on. And I love the line that I heard a couple weeks ago. A carbon tax is not an environmental plan, it's a tax plan to collect $2.5 billion. And I just want to cite our family business a little bit as an example. People say, well, what's the answer as the alternative? Our party is going to be releasing a full platform for Canadians to see and understand what we can do. And I'll just use Jet Express as a perfect example. Dad will want me to give a plug that we have 46 Freightliner trucks that we're very proud of. And next time you're going down the 401, take a look at the backs of the trailers and the wings underneath our dry van trailers, or any of them. You see the wings that go along, you're seeing more and more of those companies, trucking companies have those. There's room for improvement, there's more that can be doing it. We have some caps on the hubs and we have some different aerodynamic features we can add to the truck. When we do that in the trucking industry, we've seen our fuel savings can be as high as 10% or more. The return on investment on that is significant. It pays itself back right away. We're lowering our fuel consumption and our impact on the environment. We've done that now for several years. It's paid and been benefits to us. We've got our return on investment. We can expand that, for an example. It doesn't require a penalty. It doesn't require a tax. It requires working research and development and working with industries and supporting those businesses. And that's just a perfect example of how our local candidates and local MPs can go to Ottawa and advocate for that type of change. Now, an example of Andrew talking and our party talking about scrapping the carbon tax, I'm also very excited as we start to roll out different aspects of our election platform. And making life affordable for families and for everybody is something that we're hearing a lot about. And there's two things that I think have gained a lot of traction we've heard. We're going to pledge to take the HST off your home heating bills. That's going to be a significant saving for everyone. And I think I've got their vote after this pledge. My best friends Devin and Michelle are here with their little one Lex in the back corner. One of the new things for supporting families is by taking the income tax off of EI for maternity and parental leave to support new parents. There's more and more we can do to get our birth rate up, to encourage people to have families and more families and make it easier for them. And this is a smart, pragmatic way of doing that. So it's these types of policies that I'm looking forward as we get going. I'll just touch base quickly on a couple of local things. It's actually not an issue or a file that I hear most about when it comes to local issues in our riding. The number one thing people come up to me and say, Eric, I will vote for you if you promise to deliver the same customer service that Guy and the ladies in the office do after the next election. I pledge just to do that. They've set the bar very high as well, and they've been wonderful to work with in my 9 years when I was there. If it's an employment insurance, CPP, child tax benefit, passport, immigration, income taxes, old age security, the disability tax credit, whatever it may be, Guy's office today helps thousands of people every year. It is the go-to place for people to navigate federal services, and I've pledged to the constituents, I don't want to fix what's not broken. We want to continue that great level of service to people to know they can access their MP at an event or at the office with the staff and get the service that they truly deserve. And I want to pledge on that. J'ai un message très simple pour la communauté francophone ici ce soir. Je dis à mon ami Denis Jalbert qui était ici ce soir, c'est un travail en progrès, mais chaque jour, je pratique mon français, mon deuxième langue. Mais à la fin de la journée, mon message est le même pour la communauté francophone. Je comprends l'importance de la communauté francophone et je travaille très fort avec la communauté, avec les organisations pour travailler sur mon français et travailler avec la communauté francophone, pas juste ici à Stormont-Dundas et Glengarry Sud, mais en Canada. C'est une chose très, très importante. For those of you that speak only English, you probably thought that was great, and the Francophones are probably cringing at that. So no one got up and left yet, so we'll take it as happened. Steady progress, we'll call that. The other thing that I just want to touch on quickly as well, and for everybody to note about what we'll be talking about this upcoming election, is infrastructure spending. Infrastructure is the word that we hear all the time, but I want to put it in context. John Baird is a good friend of mine. And when John was minister, I think there was an excellent contrast to the previous Conservative government and the current Liberal government that's here. John had, and Guy always said these things when they did announcements during the economic recession. Canada went into deficit under a Conservative government. But John Baird said there was 3 T's to that equation. It was timely, it was temporary, and it was targeted. There was a plan to get to end, there was a plan to improve our economy, and that's what was done. If we recall back, and I see several mayors, past and present, and council members here, think of the Benson Centre in Cornwall, the new EMS building between the city and SD&G, Belmead Road, North Dundas, the Brookdale water main work, in Moose Creek, the outdoor rink, the Iroquois Mooresburg wastewater and water treatment plant, and the new international bridge. Guy delivered over $120 million of your tax dollars that went to Ottawa. They came back to our riding, and people saw that. It was a job that was well done, got the deficit back to zero, and back on a good economic footing. Now ask yourself, in the last 3.5, 4 years now, in a Liberal government, can anybody open up the newspaper and tell me one single major infrastructure project that's happened in Stormont-Dundas and South Glengarry? And you'd struggle to find that. You can go on the website, there's been a few studies, a few EAs on different projects, but the shovels aren't getting in the ground. So we've had $100 billion of deficit racked up in our country. Can't name any, if very few, projects that have benefited locally here, and there's no plan to end the deficits until the year 2040 or later. It's not sustainable. We need to advocate for projects here in SD&G, and as the MP, I promise to do that in Ottawa. Work with our mayors, work with our councils, and deliver those dollars, not just to Ottawa, but more importantly, make sure they come back here to our riding. And the last topic that I'll just talk about, and both actually at a local and a national level, is the concerns that there are in agriculture today. Agriculture is the backbone of our economy here in Stormont-Dundas and South Glengarry. And I want farmers to know that I am a strong supporter of supply management. I'm a strong supporter of the agricultural industry, and we need to make sure, not just in our riding, not just within our party, not just within our country, but more importantly, as we get more globalized, as we have more free trade deals around the world, we need to make sure we are protecting our agricultural communities. When we do that, our riding particularly benefits. And as a member of Parliament, I promise to do this. Now, those that know me know that I could be up here for a while talking about politics and policy. I'll save you by starting to wrap things up a little bit. Tonight is an opportunity to celebrate what we've achieved to date, together by winning the Conservative nomination, but let's also use this as a call to service. I remember the best compliment I ever got as mayor was a couple years ago when a resident came up to me very angry and frustrated, saying every time I open up the local newspaper, there's nothing exciting that happens in North Dundas. There's no fighting, there's no drama, there's no conflict. Thank you for that compliment, is what I would say. This is the way that our public discourse should be. More civil, more organized, and more respectful. In North Dundas, when I was on council and SD&G County Council, we didn't always agree. You're not supposed to, that's why you have multiple people around the table. But I'm particularly proud about the tone we set and how we were able to work with each other. My commitment to each and every one of you and to every constituent in SDSG, that I will bring the same style of leadership and tone to this new job as I did in my previous ones. I am not a flame-throwing, divisive person. I hate personal attacks in politics and shots below the belt. I hate confrontation and fighting, and sometimes I wonder why I'm in the job that I'm going for. But I rather choose to sit down over coffee and work out an issue or a problem. So tonight I have a message for my challengers in the upcoming election, whoever they may be, and from whichever party. Our big blue machine is fired up, it's stronger than ever, and we are eager to deliver a majority Conservative government under Prime Minister Andrew Scheer. But I also want to convey this message to them. I know that just like me, you care about our country, and you have the same desire to work hard and deliver a plan that you feel will make our country an even better place to live. I will respect you. I will admire your commitment to standing up for what you believe in and putting your name on the ballot. We pledge to run a campaign that's based on policies and ideas and how we can do what's best for Stormont-Dundas-South, Glengarry, and our country. We're going to disagree a lot in the election campaign, and that's okay. That's what democracy is all about. But I've used a line in my entire tenure in public life. Attitude is a small thing that makes a big difference. You attract a lot more with honey than you do vinegar. We can be civil, have smart debates and discussions, and treat each other with respect. I promise to do that during this campaign, and should I have the honor of getting there this fall, I will do that with each and every colleague in the House of Commons. I stand before you tonight, humbled and understanding the responsibility that lies ahead. Our riding has had exceptional leadership with Guy Lozon, Jim McDonnell, and the legacy of great men like Noble Villeneuve. I know I have big shoes to fill, and I promise to work hard each and every day to meet those expectations. And I will conclude with this. I'll conclude my conclusion. Without a doubt, Canada is the best place in the world to live, and we have a lot going for us. But we need a federal government that works to keep that quality of life going and keeping it strong, to make sure that life is affordable, to make sure that we offer great health care, education, transportation, and the things that the people rely on their government to offer and offer it well. Erratic, unplanned budgeting and spending leads to that quality of life being jeopardized. I don't want to see it get there. So I ask you tonight, take a sign, make a donation, offer to volunteer, do what you can to help our campaign out. So my message to a single mother in Iroquois that is struggling to make ends meet. I will be there to understand if our office needs service, if it's a child tax benefit, if it's making your life affordable. I hear your voice and I'm there for you. To the farmer in Lancaster that's concerned about the future of supply management and commodity prices and globalization in an ever complicated world, I will work with you, I will work with our government to make sure that our local and international obligations are strong. And to the business owner in downtown Cornwall that wonders how they can keep themselves competitive with more taxes and more regulation coming on there, I plan to reverse that course to make it easier and more welcoming for businesses to grow, to expand, and to start, not just here, but across the country. So let's take a call to action. Let's pledge to win this election for a better Stormont-Dundas and South Glengarry. Let's win this election for a government in Ottawa that we can all be proud of. And let's win this election for a better Canada. Thank you, and God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next Member of Parliament for Stormont-Dundas-South, Eric Duncan.